From sea to shining sea, America's favorite uncle, Bumpkin Bob.
Hey y'all, this is Bumpkin Bob coming to you from the Bumpkin Media Studios here in beautiful Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Hey, I hope everybody out there had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. Ended up going to Little Rock and spending time with my sisters and a few nieces and nephews that showed up. And we are going to get into in the last segment a little bit about that, about family type stuff and attending or not attending those kind of functions. I wanted to make sure that I said this morning. Also, as we're getting started tomorrow, Jan Morgan's going to be in Dardanelle around 2 p.m. Not exactly sure where, but I'm sure if you're in that Russellville, Dardanelle area that you can find that out pretty easy. Go listen to her. As of right now, for me personally, that's my candidate for governor, unless something changes. So I wanted to just get that out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about today about the debacle that is the University of Arkansas's AD and coaching searches, firing and coaching searches. And the only good thing about all of this is Tennessee, University of Tennessee, has screwed theirs up so bad that nobody's paying attention to what's going on here in Fayetteville. And I know what people are thinking is like, really, Bob? It's like, yeah, I mean, you got to be thankful for Tennessee right now. Since we last aired, Jeff Long got fired. I think we had some people that were a little upset how that took place and why it took place. And, really, people, it came down to that north end zone. I mean, that was a big part of why he was let go. A lot of people are speculating that the Board of Trustees wanted Brett Bielema fired at the end of the year and that Jeff Long wasn't cooperating and didn't want to do that. Maybe that was part of it. That being said, Brett got fired after the last game. I shouldn't laugh, but, he's making $4 million a year, and it got reported this week. He got almost a $12 million buyout. So, as compared to me and what I make a year versus his buyout, I mean, he makes more in a year than I'll make in my whole lifetime. So I can't feel too sorry for him. If he can't manage that money and survive, that's his fault. I know there are people out there that get large sums of money and then they can't manage it or whatever and end up dying penniless. That being said, the big thing that people were pissed about is, it came out first that he got fired as he was walking off the field, and that's not true. And they made the decision to take him into an office. He went into the locker room, prayed with the team, I guess like he always does. They brought him out of the locker room, told him what was going on, and allowed him and they did it to give him the opportunity to be the one to tell his players, goodbye and to tell him that he'd been fired and what was going down. And the only person it seems like that didn't piss off was Brett Bielema. Apparently, he liked the way it happened. I mean, he was appreciative of the fact that he got to tell his players Friday afternoon before they all went home for Thanksgiving. It was like somebody said, most of these players weren't going to be back to the campus till either Sunday evening or sometime Monday after Thanksgiving, and some of them might not have came back till Tuesday, depending on how their class schedule was. So that being said, I mean, he didn't want his players to find out over social media. Now, some of the local sports people up here on morning radio and evening radio were talking, well, they should have waited till Monday And it's like, it's like no matter what the U of A did, somebody was going to find fault in it. And it's like the same people that found fault in the way they did it would also have found fault if they'd have waited till Monday. Those same people would have been on going, well, all his players found out on social media. They should have told him before they left for the Thanksgiving holiday. It's like you can't please these fucking people. They find fault in everything. And it's like, I don't know. This whole week, there's been times with morning radio and afternoon radio that I've just screamed at the radio because I've been so mad at some of the bullshit they've been saying. And it's like, I know, just like this show is my opinion, this is an opinion-based show. Those are opinion-based shows, and those guys have their right to have their own opinion. But I have a right to disagree with it, don't I? Hell yeah, I do. And then somebody also mentioned yesterday on one, and everybody here in Arkansas, if anybody on YouTube's watching or on our subscription site that's not from the state of Arkansas, y'all probably don't realize what's going on here, but everybody here thinks Gus Malzahn has already inked a deal to come to Arkansas as our coach, no matter what happens today in the SEC championship game, or even if he wins a national championship. Now, I'm kind of the belief, like most people are, that are outside the state, that if they lose today, because the Auburn fans will be yelling for his head again, just like they do every time they lose, that Gus is coming to Arkansas. If they win, if they beat Georgia and get into the national championship, I think Auburn's going to end up giving him a contract that he's not going to be able to say no to. But I think it all hinges on what happens today, which brings us to the point that Kevin Sumlin got fired from A&M, and A&M's went out and hired Jimbo Fisher, and they're going to pay him $75 million over 10 years, which is a $7.5 million a year contract. That is ridiculous. Man's going to make $20,000 a day, 7 days a week for 10 years to coach a football team. It's crazy. The amount of money these men are starting to demand to be a coach. I'm going to make 2 points here. The first point is, I heard a guy talking yesterday on one of the sports shows. He's a former Auburn football player and is I think Fox Sports now, or maybe he's ESPN. He's one or the other. But Bo asked him a question about why has Auburn not already tried to ink a deal, their administration not already tried to ink a deal with Gus before the game ever got played today. Because really both of them's taking a chance here. If Auburn wins, his price goes up a little more, so it's better for them to get the deal inked before the game. But, for Gus, it's just the opposite. If he wins, it's better for him if he inks it after. But if he loses, he should have done it before. It's both of them are taking a risk here, waiting on the game to be played. But the guy responded to is like, what administration? Basically the AD at Auburn's a lame duck AD, because everybody knows he's already turned in his resignation, and he's leaving after the first quarter of 2018. He's gone. So really he has no power. I don't think they're going to listen to too much he says. And he said they're in the same boat that Tennessee and Arkansas is in. Tennessee fired their AD after, I guess because they tried to hire 2 or 3 people as a head coach, and it kept falling through. They even got Oklahoma State's coach over there, flew him in one day. spent 2 or 3 hours with him, and he told him no. And he said in Arkansas's in the same boat. No AD, no documented administration. This is the person who's going to make the deal, make the decision. And it's like it's crazy that all three schools are trying to either keep a coach or hire coaches with no true administration in place. It's just crazy. And I wanted to address also the issue of Jimbo Fisher leaving. I watched today the UCF and Memphis game for their conference championship, which UCF won. And it's like, before that game was over, they went into the game 12-0 and ended up winning the game, so they're 13-0. Before that game was over, I guess somebody at Nebraska announced that Scott Frost was going to be coming to Nebraska as their head coach. Well, he's 13-0, going to go to a bowl game and get to play a Power 5 conference team for sure, and really see what those kids at UCF got. They're 13-0 right now, and they admitted they don't have much of a defense. Neither them or Memphis, either one, had much of a defense. Very high scoring game. Which, the Jimbo Fisher leaving Florida State, going to A&M, him leaving UCF, going to Nebraska, brings up my next point. And it's something that we've had discussions on the job site several times. And it's like, I don't think it's right that colleges can start talking to these guys before their season is actually over. And I count the national championship and the bowl games as seasons. And I'm going to throw Arkansas in there too. I mean, we fired our coach. We got to hire a new coach. So we're talking to people. We will talk to people. I think they're going to make Gus tell them no Monday or this afternoon after the game if he loses. And then they'll start looking. But we're going to be talking to people that have bowl games coming up. Well, you've went the whole year with this group of athletes as their leader. And then you're going to leave. And I was going to say abandon, but that's a pretty strong word. Because these are young adults. I mean, you're not abandoning them. They're not like 11-year-olds. But you're going to leave them with either moving a coordinator up or hiring an interim head coach to coach the bowl game. And I don't think that's right. And part of it comes down to the NCAA moving that signing seasons up. I think really and truly they should push that thing back, all signing dates for football, NCAA football, back to March or April, and tell these people that, once you've inked a deal as far as being a head coach, that you're off limits for other schools to talk to until after your bowl game. Period. It's like they can't talk to you. They can't talk to your agent. And let you concentrate with the athletes you have on the bowl games that are coming up. It's not right to get these people, people call them kids. These are young men. They're not kids. When I was their age, I worked a full-time job and had a family. So they're not kids. And they're young men that are playing a game. As far as I'm concerned, they're getting paid. They're getting a free education to play this game. And you're going to leave them before the last game of the year. I think that's wrong. I think there's no way that you can convince me that it's right. But the money has got to that point that they let them do it. And I think they need to stop. I think all bowl games, they need to have a specific date. Like bowl games have to be played by January 15th or whatever it is. And then you can't talk to a sitting coach until after that date. And it's like it's a done deal. And then have the signing date after that. So that the kids that are kids, the young men, young adults, these are probably 17 and 18-year-old kids, they need to know who's going to be the coach going into it. And you know what? Or, make these guys honor those contracts. Don't give them buyouts and shit. It's getting crazy where the schools with big bucks can go get somebody like Jimbo Fisher and pay Florida State some ungodly amount of money to hire their coach away. I was going to say steal their coach. That's probably not a good word to use, but I still think it's wrong, and I always will. And as we go on through this our show today, I may come back to this from time to time because things will pop in my brain. And I'm like, I need to say this. For now, one of the last things I'm going to say, man, I'm going to take some heat for this probably. But talking about Scott Norvell over at Memphis, that's another name being thrown around for the Arkansas head coach. Well, my opinion is, from what I saw today, is we're going to end up with another head coach, Houston Nut, that can't win the big game. He does great during the season, but when he gets into the big game at the end of the year, he folds like a deck of cards. And it's just like, is that really what we want? And I know my oldest son has campaigned hard for Mike Leach. He didn't get hired at Tennessee, but I heard he was on their short list, and I think they even talked to him. Would really like to see that. Oh. And for those of you who follow me on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, you need to go follow John Daly. Holy cow, Big John, former Arkansas Razorback golfer, is campaigning hard for Houston Nutt as AD. God love you, John. I don't think he's going to get it. I think they're going to give it to that guy from Tulsa, but he is campaigning hard for Houston Nutt. He wants Houston Nutt as AD and Gus Malzahn as our head coach. There was some other people on there that had posted to, bring Gus Malzahn in as head coach and then maybe hire Clint Sterner as quarterback coach and Darren McFadden as a running back coach, which I don't think that'd be a bad idea. I don't know about Clint Sterner as quarterback coach. I never had a lot of faith in Clint, but D-Mac was the man when he was at Arkansas. I think he'd make a great running backs coach. Who wouldn't want, a whole core of running backs that run like Darren McFadden? That'd just be awesome. I know they're saying that the next coach has got to have ties for recruiting in Texas, and I'm sure that's true, but I would also like to see some more kids from Arkansas wearing the Razorback red and the Razorback. I know these kids grow up as fans, and they grow up wanting to be an Arkansas Razorback, and then they get overlooked, and they end up going to, Memphis or, maybe over to Dallas to play at SMU or someplace like that, or over to Mississippi State or Ole Miss. And people are going to laugh about that, but recruiting, when they talk about recruiting, like Arkansas playing at AT&T Stadium every year, they're not just talking about recruiting football players or athletes, period. They're talking about recruiting students, because if you can get students, just students that are non-scholarship students out of Texas, they're paying out-of-state tuition, and it's more than what the kids in state pay. So, I mean, they're really trying to recruit that hard because they need money to run that university. It's a business just like anything else. Well, Mississippi does the same thing. They're trying to get students out of Arkansas to come over there and go to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And I guarantee you, everybody watching this show probably knows somebody that went to one of those two schools. Start asking some of your coworkers and stuff, and you're going to find people that maybe grew up in Arkansas, especially if they grew up over there in the Mississippi Delta region of Arkansas, that went to Ole Miss or Mississippi State, because they recruit students in Arkansas. Don't think that they don't. All the colleges do it, because you recruit those students from out of state, they pay the higher tuition. That's how they pay their professors and, I don't know who else, but they pay a bunch of people like that. So, anyway, we're going to move on. Like I said, I reserve the right to come back to this topic during the show today, just in case something else pops into my brain I think I need to say. This week, oh my God, it's been very stressful on me. This is my job site tale, so to speak, for the week. And it's really not funny, but I guess if you look at it from poor Gavin's point of view, or you look at it at Gavin, people probably thought it was funny. But Tuesday, here in this area where I'm at, it started raining. I know when I got up at 4 o'clock, I heard it start drizzling. I don't know if it had been raining before that or not, but man, by 5 o'clock, it was raining hard. I mean, we got a good rain Tuesday morning. Well, the job site that I'm working on is, it's all red dirt, clay and rock, mostly clay. And, here again, it's one of those things. I had a superintendent one time that parked everybody in a mud hole and then bitched because we tracked mud into the building while they were trying to finish it. It's like, you parking us all out there, you're taking 60 trucks a day and parking them in this mud hole, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And then we have to tromp through that to get to the building. And then you're bitching because we're tracking money. Well, you're the idiot parking us out there in the mud hole. Anyway, they got this site. It's all red dirt. They hadn't put any gravel down or anything. So everybody shows up Tuesday morning. Well, just like this job site's in the city of Rogers. And just like any city, they start hammering on construction sites that are tracking mud out into their roadways. And it's mainly because their citizens are going to drive through that, get mud on their cars, and they're going to start calling down to the courthouse or the mayor's city administration offices or whatever, complaining. And it just so happens the job site I'm working on is on like a dead-end street. And at the end of this street is and I don't know any other way to put it, but it's like a high-dollar private school daycare. So, there's a lot of Mercedes and Jaguars and that kind of thing, because it's over by Pinnacle, which is for you people in Little Rock, it'd be like a daycare in Pleasant Valley. That's the way I'll describe it. So, these people are going to be complaining hard. So, they hook up a water hose and they want everybody to wash their damn tires off before they pull out on the street so that the general contractor don't get bitched at. There's still mud being tracked on the street, so they've got a guy out there literally all day with this water hose and trying to wash off the street. Well, what they did is they got water hoses, like almost like industrial water hoses that are like, I don't know, 3/4 instead of 5/8. So they got a lot of volume but no pressure. I mean, I guess most people don't understand hydraulic pressure. I probably don't understand it exactly, but uh, when I left, it took the guy that was doing it. It was one of the general contractors guys washing all the tires. It took him 30 minutes to clean my tires, and I got out of the job site pretty early. Well, my apprentice ended up at the back of the line. Well, he sent me a text at 4:30. This is an hour after we got off. And he's like, I'm still sitting in line to get my tires cleaned. And I still got 2 plumber trucks in front of me. Man, I called him back and he didn't answer his phone, so I left a message. And I'm like, drive around them motherfuckers. I'm tired of this bullshit. Just drive around them, track that shit down the road, and they'll gravel the damn parking lot. Which the next morning they kind of did. They graveled a little bit of it. Not enough for everybody to park. So the next time we get rain, we're going to be right back in the same situation. It's like the entrance is now graveled, but nothing else. You still got this big area of red dirt that people are going to have to park on. And we've got the electricians, heating and air guys, the plumbers, the framers are still there. We got roofers in, and the masons started Friday. So we got 6 trades plus the general contractors and their people. So that's, you got a lot of vehicles on this, and it's not just normal cars and trucks. You also and the dirt workers were there. So that's another one. You got, a lot of 1-ton dually pickups, and some of these guys are pulling trailers, like the concrete guys have been there this week too, doing curbs. So they'll have a big 20-foot trailer with form boards laid on it. And, people are pulling trailers in and out. It's just ridiculous. And, it just makes me mad at general contractors when they do stuff like this. And then they don't want you to spend, an hour or 2 hours after every job site, after every shift, whatever you want to call it, washing your damn tires off. It's like, well, gravel the fucking building site, It happens every time. It's like, for God's sakes, people, this is Arkansas. We're going to get rain. That's just what happens. And that red dirt shit that we're building these building pads on sticks to the tires. And you're going to track it out if you don't have the parking lot gravel. That being said, same general contractor, but a different superintendent that we worked with about 3 years ago, doing a medical office building, which is what our medical clinic, a doctor's office, which is what we're doing now. When he did his, as soon as the slab got poured, which basically defines the building, he had the dirt guys come in before any steel arrived and got on site, or anybody put job trailers on site. I mean, he kept everybody kind of at bay. So once the concrete was poured for the building slab, he had dirt guys come in, cut what was going to be the parking lot areas to grade, and then he had the asphalt contractor come in. I think on this particular job, they were putting down 12 inches of base, compacted base. Well, he went ahead and had them put 6 inches of it down and compacted 6 inches of base. So, it probably, I don't know exactly what the math would be or how you'd figure it, but probably takes 10 or 12 inches of just loose base, road base, to compact to 6 inches. He came in and had them put in 6 inches of compacted base before anything else got started. Well, that whole job went with nobody parking on nasty ass mud. The whole job, it was nice and dry, and he didn't have to worry, because we were in Fayetteville that time. They really do raise hell. I mean, you would think those rich people in Rogers would raise hell, but the people in Fayetteville really get after it. All those hippies down there. Hippy dippy do. But he didn't have to worry about, bringing the street sweeper in, because this company owns its own little street sweeper. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He didn't have to worry about bringing it in and cleaning the road, or having some guy out there with a water hose every day trying to wash the road down, because he was parking some gravel. And it's like, I don't understand sometimes why other superintendents just can't, click into that. I mean, to me, that ought to be like one of the first things that happens on a building site. It's like, let's get the parking lot close so that we're all not parking in a mud hole, and you're not bitching at us for walking in and out of the building tracking mud, or driving down the damn road tracking mud. It's crazy. And other problems I've had this week, I have a particular way that I like to rough my walls in. I'm sure all electricians do. And believe me, honest to God, this has caused people to quit, because I'm anal about shit. And it really bothers me when people want me to do stuff that I know is going to cause me problems in the end. But I usually get with, once they start framing walls, metal stud walls in a building, I get with the framer and I say, okay, I know at some point you're going to want what they call one side of sheetrock. And that's something else that you cannot get through to superintendents and framers, that when they one side, they slow us down. If the room hadn't been roughed in yet and you one side it, it takes us longer. If it took us, I don't know, let's say it takes me 2 hours, 2 man hours, or 4 man hours, whatever, to rough in a room. Well, you go in there and one side it, it's going to take me double the time. That's just how it is. We can argue that semantics or whatever you call that all day long. That's just how it is. But I usually go in and I get with him and I say, okay, when you start one side, where do you want to start at? You tell me where you're going to start. I'll start roughing in walls there, and I'll work the same direction so that I'm ahead of you. And then you don't have to worry about me. You can, when you get to that point that all metal framers do, they pull that card out. Well, if we can't one side, we have to pull off the job to go to another job. I don't know when we'll get back. Well, if you're the superintendent, you say you'll come back when I tell you come back. That's how that works. But they don't. They let them buffalo them into one side. And so that way I'm in front. Well, this particular job, and I guess I probably bucked them a little bit about it because I really didn't want to do it. I don't like doing what they call boxing out a building, where you just go through and put all your boxes up, and then you come back later and rough everything in, whether you're running conduit or MC cable, however you're doing this particular building, because I don't like doing that, because shit gets missed. And that's when you end up, when you start putting devices in, you end up with plugs that don't work. Well, that's because, you didn't pipe from this plug to this plug. And either that, or you catch it when you start pulling wire. So now instead of pulling wire, you're running conduit, or you're doing MC cable again, because you missed that on the front end. And it just causes more problems. But they wanted this building boxed out, because yesterday they wanted to be able to bring the doctors or the nurses through, one or the other, whichever, from each section. This particular building has got 4 sections. It's got 4 distinct offices, 3 distinct offices, and then a commons area. Well, they wanted to be able to bring these people through and look at plug heights and plug locations and change shit. And it's like, Why did you not go through this with the engineer? Number one, that's when all that should have been. They're already in a building. The engineer could have went in. They would have went, this plug where our uh, little stethoscope, and it's really a charging station, I think, for like their thermometers and the little things they look in your eyes and ears, the little flashlight thing. We need that plug up at 60 inches because when it's down here, kids unplug it. So all this could have been avoided, but they wait till we're at a point where they're telling me we want to start sheetrocking on the 13th of December, but we don't want you to rough any walls in. We want you to box everything out. And it really irritates the living fuck out of me, just to let everybody know, because this is when shit gets missed and overlooked. And it's like, me personally, it's what I've tried to do since I've been running jobs. It's like I tell my apprentices or my journeymen that are working under me, get everything you need on your roughing cart. When you walk into a room, whether it's a receptionist area or the doctor's office or the x-ray room or lab or exam room, you complete it. You box it out. You pipe it in, complete. Data, fire alarm, power, whatever goes in that room that we're responsible for. You do it complete, and then you walk out of it. And then what we do, once they sheetrock, we come back and pipe everything together on top of the walls. But all we're trying to do is get up out of the walls so they can sheetrock. And this week has been really hard on me dealing with that. And it's like, then on top of that, man, I'm getting a lot off my chest today. The architect made a 3-foot blub in their measurements of some rooms, which unfortunately was our electric room, that they made this measurement faux pas. So us and the plumbers through one section are having to move all our pipes 3 foot that are underground. Well, my pipes in the electric room are 3-inch panel feeds and then 4-inch pipes that are ran for communication stuff. And it's like that. It's a lot of work to do. Throw that in on top of the masons showed up, and we've got to get our metering packs and stuff mounted to the outside of the building next week. And then they made me box out instead of actually roughing in some rooms, but they want me done by the 13th on doing all of it so they can start sheetrocking. And it's like, damn, people, y'all trying to cram 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. And it has made this week very, very stressful, to say the least, on the old Bumpkin. And that being said, I think maybe we should move on. Let me think a minute and see if there's anything else I want to bitch about on the job site. No, I can't think of nothing right now. But if I do, I reserve the right to come back and cover this again. Okay, I want to move on to talking about family. Oh man, this is going to get deep and wide and probably going to hurt some people's feelings over all this. But I'm just going to tell you what I think. And what I think is actually coming from experience. I think we've established the fact that I'm 53 years old, and I've lived a little. I kind of know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give y'all some advice. And I'm going to throw out some things that I know what you're going to say. And the advice is, don't skip. I'm not going to say don't. but try not to skip family events. And this is being based on this past week being Thanksgiving. It's had a long weekend. Most people were off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with some exceptions. I mean, there's some people who have to work here and there. God love our police officers and our firemen and some of the and hospital workers and the people that basically have to work holidays and holiday weekends, because literally, I mean, people would die if they didn't, just because you wouldn't have the medical help or police protection or fire protection that you need during that time. So God bless those people. And I'm not going to include y'all in this, even though there are times that y'all really should think about it yourself. But try not to miss family events. And I know what people are going to say, because I probably had some of the same excuses. Now, the one I didn't have, and I've thought about this the last couple of days, and if I ever did, I apologize, but I don't think I did. I don't remember using this as an excuse. But you guys that use the excuse, well, it's hunting season. It's like, okay. Now, I'll be honest. Since we moved up here, actually moved to Bearville in 97, I haven't hunted, hadn't fished. But even before then, I don't remember ever using that as an excuse. Now, I'm guarantee you, there are some families, and I'm talking about large families, that probably all go to deer camp together, and they probably have a big Thanksgiving at deer camp. I'm not talking to y'all. But you guys that use that as an excuse, and Gavin, buddy that works with me, God love you, but going and spending time with your mom and dad, especially, because believe me, I've lost both of mine, or your siblings and your children, cannot be replaced. I mean, you can't go back in time and get those things. It's like once it's gone, it's gone. And there's always going to be a deer stand, or I feel like there always will be, in the state of Arkansas, that you can go climb on. But make time for your family and family events. My excuse was always working. I mean, we worked a lot, and I felt like, because I had a family, a young family, and a wife, I had people I had to support. And I felt like at the time, well, if I got an opportunity to work a few hours overtime, that's better. Not better, that's the wrong word, but that's what I should do, because it benefits my wife and kids. We're really probably spending the quality time with them probably would have been a better benefit. And this goes right back to something we talked about several months ago about the difference between fathers in the 70s and fathers now. But, I should have spent more time with my wife and kids versus working. Working is not worth it. I mean, people are going to say, Bob, you're wrong, but you're not going to get rich working overtime. If you make, an hourly wage and you're working overtime, you're not going to get rich working overtime. And that's my opinion. And I don't think 8 hours overtime, 6 hours overtime, I don't think 24 at my age, looking back, I don't think 24 hours overtime is worth not being there spending time with your family. It is not. I guarantee you. Now, I'm not going to try to pull at people's heartstrings and say, well, I miss time with my mom at Thanksgiving or my mom at Christmas. That didn't happen. My mom died in 91. At no time from the time I was, and I'll just use the time I was married. So the time she passed away, I got married in 84. So she passed away in 91. So that wasn't a long time. But at no time during those short few years did I miss Thanksgiving or did I miss Christmas dinner at my mama's house. It just wouldn't have happened. Now, I'll be honest with you. There were some times, probably during that time, that I missed going to Granny Griggs's house, or Granny Griggs's. They'd usually do it at the community center in Clinton. I did miss some of those later on, but I always went to my mama's house, and so I'm not going to try to pull at your heartstrings. Looking back, I should have went to the ones at at Clinton. I didn't, and that's a whole nother story why I didn't. But I did, and I should have. I'll go ahead. I didn't like going to those because I felt like an outcast, and it just, to me, it wasn't comfortable. I don't know how to say this at that time. I didn't feel like part of that family, even though I am a Griggs by birth. That's just the way I felt, so I didn't go to those after I got married. Just quit going. But even after that, after Mom passed away, there was times, especially after we moved up here, and all my sisters and my dad lived in Little Rock, and then my ex-wife, her family lived in Camden. And for the most part, I think I traveled a lot, but I did miss some things, and I usually missed them for work reasons. I'm trying to decide what to tell, what not to tell. If you see me, it's like, see my little wheel, my little squirrel cage is turning up here. And I guess just what I want to give is advice to, like, my kids, younger cousins on family sides, and nieces and nephews, and just anybody that's of a younger generation. It's like, don't miss those opportunities to fellowship with your family. Make sure that you're there for those occasions. I know, just because I'm hard-headed, I almost missed Dad's 75th birthday party to work, and I bailed out of work at the last minute and went. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm not going to say nothing else about that. After I went, I remembered why I really didn't want to go, but I went anyway. And so I'm not sure exactly how y'all could take that. I mean, I'm glad I did go. I'm just saying I remember why I didn't want to go. And part of me too, that whole thing is not liking to be around large groups of people. I ended up going to Dad's 80th birthday party, and I'm glad I went to that. Pretty much my daughter and my cousin Kathy. If it hadn't been for them two, I probably wouldn't have went, but I did go. I'm glad I went. Especially since Dad passed away 3 years after that. But And we've talked about the relationship we had. Uh, but that I just want people to understand. Don't go out, especially Thanksgiving, and sit on a deer stand by yourself while all your family is laughing and cutting up and going on and eating turkey and dressing and having a good time. And I don't want to say, I would never say this. I don't think, and I'm sure there are people that are going to be watching this that are going, man, the Game and Fish Commission should set it up where deer season, gun season isn't going on during like Thursday through that Sunday. It's like, well, no, because there are families, especially in the state of Arkansas, where the whole family goes to deer camp to have Thanksgiving. And the ones that hunt go out and hunt, and then everybody comes in and cooks. But so I don't want to go that far. I'm just saying, try to hunt. Try to hunt where you can make yourself available. I know some people, like they'll do in-laws Thursday and this person Friday and this person Saturday. It's like, well, I'm going to skip the Saturday one. Well, why should you skip the Saturday ones? They're just as important. The people that are at those are just as important as the ones that are at Thursdays and Fridays. So just put some thought into it for me, for the old Bumpkin Bob, and think about that. And this all stems from, and I'm not pointing fingers, it's just I had a bunch of people this past weekend I would have liked to have seen that, had either had to work or went deer hunting or whatever their reason was for not being there. Just remember, and don't let that drive you. Again, I don't want to be ugly, but you're not going to get rich working overtime. And it's like if I shouldn't say that. It's like if you hadn't killed a deer by Thanksgiving, you're probably not going to kill one. Because either you really don't want to, or you're just hunting in a bad place. And it's like if you're hunting in a bad place, you can sit on that deer stand for the whole deer season and not kill nothing. So, put a little bit of thought into that. Something that kind of tied in, and I know he was bullshitting. I had a cousin send me a message on Messenger or whatever you call it, Facebook Messenger, Thursday morning, wish me happy Thanksgiving, and then, made sure he told me that they had a porta potty at deer camp, and then he told me that the Saturday before when the wind was blowing so hard, it blew over and he was in it. I told him, I said, well, I wish I could have saw that. And he said, well, come by and see me. I still got the blue tent. Because most of y'all probably don't realize this, but they pour this blue juice shit down in the toilet area. The chemical is supposed to keep the I don't know, just say feces or whatever in the urine from smelling. It doesn't help. How everything's gotten, the laws have gotten so bad that they can't even put strong chemicals in the porta potty anymore. And I'm going to tell y'all right now something else that's going to come up that for you people that are building buildings, had an interesting conversation this week with a mason that there some stuff went into effect, and I'll do some research on this and see if I can find exactly what all that it does entail. He was calling the silica laws, and basically he said, as a mason, they have saws and they cut concrete block and brick all the time. Well, they're going to have to start putting these high dollar vacuums on those. And, if their guys wear dust masks more than 30, this is one that got me. If you have an employee that wears a dust mask more than 30 days a year, you have to start getting him yearly chest x-rays and then you have to track him for 30 years. I'm not exactly sure what the loss is. You do if something comes up, but you're basically responsible for that person. Uh, this week, because of the little faux pas the architect had, I told y'all about, we had to have a cement company, a concrete company called Core and Cutting come in and cut out big chunks of this slab. Well, things like that are going to start changing what they can and can't do, and basically what's going to happen is your your masonry type stuff, and y'all, this is going to affect more than what people think. Anything that's masonry, like some of this new siding that carpenters are putting up is masonry. They're going to have to change the way they cut it and the safety stuff that they do for it. And basically, all of this translates into a higher cost for you. And it's going to be high. It's going to get real high, because you're going to end up with some of the smaller guys that either they can't afford the safety regulations, or they're just not going to do them because it's just too much. So they're just going to get out of the business. So you're going to end up with fewer people bidding jobs. So the price is going to go up. That's just basically how it is. It's going to put a bunch of people out of business, and it's going to drive the price up. And I'm not going to take a side on whether I think it's right or think it's wrong. All I'm saying is those laws have went into effect. Things that guys used to do on a construction site, like drill into a concrete block to put a tap con on, unless you're properly set up with a vacuum and water and a whole bunch of safety equipment, it's illegal to do that. So just be expecting your cost to skyrocket. And I do mean skyrocket. So again, you can blame whoever you want to. I'm sure these are done by EPA. It's coming out doing that, but it's going to get to the point that you're going to ask for something as an owner or an architect, and contractors are going to tell you no, because they either don't have the equipment or they don't want to pay for the equipment to do that because it's too expensive now. I'm going to wrap up. I don't know if y'all can tell, but starting to lose my voice a little bit. Remember, Jan Morgan is going to be in Dardanelle tomorrow. Go out and see her. As far as taping today, Arkansas still does not have an AD, nor does it have a head coach. Hopefully by next week when we tape, we'll have something. One other note, going into Christmas, I don't know how many people will abide by this or take it to heart, I guess would be a better word. But if you've got family members out there that y'all are, brothers, and I'm talking about brothers or sisters or moms or dads that you're not speaking to, or that y'all have a bad problem, this is Christmas season. Give them a call, straighten that shit out. Both of you quit being assholes and just, get back to being siblings or back to being mom and whatever. Man, I just bit off more than I can fucking chew, I think, right there. I think I just stuck my foot in my mouth. And those that know me are going to know why. Lordy, 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 I just opened up a hornet's nest. Anyway, hope y'all had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope y'all have a Merry Christmas. And we will see you next week here on the Bumpkin Bob Show. We are out.